Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Catatonia's YouTube channel, starring me, the mighty Cryo. This is Bosses Only, the video series where we look at just the bosses from a dungeon, because you're not stuck on trash. You're stuck on bosses? From the Lost Depths DLC, this is Graven Deep. Why is it called Graven Deep? Again, I didn't make a funny picture or a story. Probably because I couldn't think of one, or because it's really late at night when I'm recording this. Either way, it's a new dungeon. Let's take a look around. We're going to start with the first secret boss, because you encounter it before the first main boss. This is Mzugru security drone, and he's a rather beefy gentleman, but what kind of abilities does he have? Let's talk about that. Now, before we can even begin fighting this boss, there was a little puzzle to solve, which is, well, it's not there, and it isn't there. That doesn't do anything. This was actually our very first time in here. We'd never been in here before. We didn't know anything. We figured it out. But you could see the puzzle being solved there. There's 4 things. Rotate them until the boss is free. And there we can begin fighting him. Now, he does all the usual standard 𝕊𝕦𝕣𝕖 attacks. There's the big heavy hits that you see there. The tank just blocks those. He does that thing where he'll spin around on the spot, flailing his arms. So, you know, just back up a bit when he does that. This ability he's doing now, he'll shoot up in the air and he'll be immune to damage. You'll have to come and destroy this thing over here to make it go away and accidentally open your map apparently while you're doing it. Here he is doing his spinny thing. But this is really just a standard tank and spank, you know, tank turn him around, everybody shoot him in the bum. Whenever he's going invincible and putting that lightning thing out, just go destroy it, then get back on him. And yeah, it's very easy. There we go. Not too bad at all. Claimed shield generator. That's the first useful buff that you get in this dungeon. And looks like Cat is going to let us have a look at it. See what it does. Shield generator. Health increased by 10%. On hit gain a concussion shield. I said it wrong. I was going to edit that out, but I thought I would just leave it there with Cat laughing at me. Thank you, Catatonia, for laughing. Centurion shield, that's what I meant to say. 50% damage mitigation for the duration. Pretty dank, 3 seconds. It'll come in useful on this, the first proper boss of the dungeon, and there is a lot going on here. So, the Euphotic Gatekeeper, it's one of those Hadlid type monsters that we've seen introduced with High Isle, and he is awful. He jumps all over the place and streaks around the room, and when he does this, AoEs shoot out from him. You'll want to avoid them because they hurt a lot. Periodically, somebody is going to get a poison on them, and you can use a synergy to drop it wherever you are. But what you'll want to do, every so often, little guar looking things are going to come out of the ground through little holes. You can see there where there's a sort of glowing yellow effect rising up into the air. Now they will keep spawning from there until somebody who has the poison synergizes on top of it, which plugs up the hole and stops them from spawning. The boss, aside from streaking around, will also straight up teleport around. When he does this, he'll leave a big spreading AoE that shoots out smaller AoEs, and he'll pop up somewhere else. So you've really just got to run around and keep up with him. Again, always avoiding AoEs, and if you happen to be poisoned, take the poison to one of those glowing shafts of light that the little guars are coming out of, and use the synergy to drop it there. While you have this poison, try not to run over your teammates, because it will damage them, and you can actually kill them, and it'll even show up on their death recap that you killed them. So, just be careful. If you're poisoned, you know where to take it. Take it to the tall yellow shafts of light that have guar spawning out of them and synergize on top of it. You've just seen somebody on the group do it there. And whenever you have a little bit of time where the boss isn't running around, focus back in and do as much damage as you can. The little guars, when they come up, also have a cone attack that will damage anyone standing in it. Now, the tank can taunt and chain these over to try to keep them under control, and we not have too many of them running around the room. But the real problem is, anytime you take them over to where the boss is, hoping that they'll be cleaved down, the boss might just move. So it's difficult to manage. You just have to keep your head on a swivel, watch out for them, and do your best. Really though, it's that straightforward. And of course, we are doing this on hard mode. You can see the banner there on the left. We did activate it, you just didn't see us activate it, because, again, this is our very first time ever in here. So, of course, there were, you know, a few wipes while we figured things out, but we did get there in the end, and everything that I've explained is it. That's all you've got to do. Just, if you get the poison on you, go synergize it over one of those holes that the guars are coming out of. Keep on top of the number of ads, don't let them overwhelm you. try to stay on the boss as much as possible, avoid all the AoEs that come out of him as he streaks around. And honestly, that's it. You'll find that it's not too bad. Just stay calm, stay on top of the ads, and fight your way to that finish. We're almost there now, in fact. And just 1% left, and there we go. Very dank. He has been defeated. Loot your lockpicks. So again, not too bad. All you've got to do is stay focused on the boss as best you can, avoid AoEs, and stay on top of those ads. Don't let all the ads pile up, and everything will be fine. So, we'll move on to the next secret boss. This is Xzyviian, defense crawler. He's, you know, a big Dwemer spider. Getting to him, once you finish the previous boss, you'll go through a door and take the rightmost path, and there's some fun lasers to avoid, and then you'll finally make your way here. What does this gentleman do? Not a lot. It's another tank and spank, basically. Tank just needs to turn him around. He's got a little slappy thing with his claws. He'll jump up in the air occasionally and do, you know, some good AoE when he lands, so you'll need to avoid that. And he shoots a bunch of fire around, and that's really not terrible. It doesn't hurt too much. It can be easily out-healed or blocked, and just burn him down, and you will gain another rather useful buff. Claim defense systems. 𝕊𝕬𝕑, give us a look. What does it do? Magicka increased by 10%. Gain access to the laser defense systems within the base, which could be manually activated once every 60 seconds per defense station. So these you'll find all during the rest of the dungeon and during the next few boss fights, that there are little things at the sides of the room you can activate that turn on lasers that will damage anything that steps in them. They'll also damage you. But here we are at the next proper boss, and we've got the hard mode activated. And now, let's go beat him up. So, this is Varzunon, and he's a big skeleton bone colossus monster thing. One attack he'll do, and he's doing it right now, he is going to summon some skeletons, some glowy blue skeletons, that walk toward him. If they reach him or get close enough, they will completely jump into him, and he will get bigger and stronger. He doesn't get more health, but he does get beefier. His attacks hurt a lot more. So ideally you don't want too many of these glowy skeletons to get to him, but you know, we never could prevent all of them from getting to them. It seemed the best way to stop them getting to him was for the tank to move the boss as far away from them as possible. However, the boss is always channeling his big attacks, and that stomp attack that you're seeing, and while he's channeling like that, he'll just stand there and channel and he won't move, but the skeletons are still coming. So it was very difficult to prevent him from getting really big really quick. But, you know, what I would suggest is try to get him away from them if he's not channeling. He'll do this big stomp, and you'll want to definitely be out of that because it hurts a lot. He also, you can see these lines of circles across the floor. When he does his Clash of Bones move, they streak out from him. You can sidestep them, dodge roll them, whatever. They'll remain persistent until the next time he does it. So there's always going to be them on the ground, and he is almost constantly summoning little tiny skeleton ads. They're reasonably fast to kill, but there are a lot of them. So you've got to really try to stay on top of them, AoE them down. They're just annoying. What I ended up finding was useful as the tank was to go and stand pretty close to one of the pillars so that I had areas where I could duck behind the pillar, and it would make the skeletons take longer to come around to me, and it would give the DPS a bit of extra time to shoot at them until they were all destroyed. Let's have a look through 𝕊𝕬𝕑's inventory. What a lot of lovely rubbish she's got. She's also got a res waiting. There we go, very dang. Let's get back into it. So again, keep on top of the skeletons. Try as best as you can to take out the glowing blue skeletons, because if they jump into them, he'll just keep getting stronger. I don't know if there's an upper limit on how strong he gets, but a lot of skeletons got to him. This that you're seeing right now, the sort of fire rain, this is really just a heal check. Everybody wants to get pretty close together so the healer can reach. You can block, and it can be out-healed, but it does hurt, and it is not dodgeable. Those little fireballs will chase you if you dodge roll, like they hit you. But really, that's all this was. Pretty much what we're doing here is stacking and burning, because it really did seem like the most straightforward way to just keep him, you know, over towards one pillar where I've got a little bit of line of sight, avoid the Clash of Bone streaks, always get out of the way when he does the big stomp, burn as many skeletons as you can, try to stop the blue glowy skeletons, but it's not so bad. It's really just a case of dodging AoEs. That's the biggest thing. And there's a lot of them. You can see them absolutely everywhere during this fight. So here it looks like I've activated the laser, which, when you do that, will actually shrink the skeleton back down a bit and make him a bit weaker. But then, of course, if another glowy skeleton gets to him, he's just going to grow big again. So do it if you can. That defense system buff does have its uses. You don't want to be in that big circle. Disagree. She was definitely out of that circle. Everybody saw. Oh, you grow tired. You just want us to finish the battle. I see. She was just sleepy. She was just sleepy. Well, I mean, I suppose that's fine. If you want to take a nap, you go right ahead. The rest of us can handle it, I'm sure. What's going on? Let's zoom in on the action. We're over here on the outside now, just to get a bit of extra space between the big guy and the blue glowy skeletons, although I'm sure one's going to reach him. Look, here comes one right now. And it's jumped into him. So now, naturally, he's going to get even beefier. Oh no, we've just lost our healer too. How will we ever manage? Fortunately, even though there were so many skeletons and it was impossible for us to get reses off, the two of us that are still alive, the tank and Beans, are both Dragon Knights, so we did have 𝕃𝕊𝒼𝕂𝕼 to fall back on to get through that heal check. So, you know, Dragon Knights, they're very useful because 𝕃𝕊𝒼𝒼 obviously caps all incoming damage at 3%, making you immortal, basically, for the duration. And because he's so close to death, we're able to just about get away with it. Very nearly got him now. Oh, look, you saw him grow big again because another ghost got to him. And it looks like another one's on its way. But, yep, look how humongous he's become. Although, we've almost got him. But as you've seen, there's a lot of skeletons now, with us being 1 DPS down to manage them all. But because they don't hurt too much and they're easy to AoE down, you can roll around and avoid them. Finally, he's dead. Good, let's go loot our lockpicks after we come back to life. So yeah, on hard mode, I think the Clash of Bones is what's different. I don't think he does that on the non-hard mode. I could be wrong, but in any case, he's dead. Get your star metal, and let's move on to the next boss. This is going to be the third and final secret boss, which, getting to him in the next area, you'll find a little hidden passageway, although it's not that hidden because you can see it on your map, and there'll be some electrified floor plates with a bunch of switches. When you stand in front of one of those, you can see them here, they'll light up which ones the switch turns off or on. Once you've got rid of them all, this boss will pop up out of the ground, and you can begin fighting him. This is Chralzak, and he is a 𝕊𝕬𝒻𝒆phere, and he literally just does 𝕊𝕬𝒻𝒆phere things. He spins around, and he does little, like, lightning AoEs, which you just need to stay out of. Other than that, this is another almost complete tank and spank. Tank's just got to taunt him, turn him away from the group. Everybody else, shoot him in the bum. Avoid the lightning AoEs. Don't get too close to the spin, because it is a cleave, and it'll hurt anyone standing in it. But once that's done, he'll be dead, you'll be able to loot your lockpicks, and of course you'll be claiming another rather dank buff. Let's have a look. Remote battery. Catatonia, would you mind showing it to us? Here we go. Stamina increased by 10%. When stamina is reduced to 30% or less, stamina recovery is supercharged for 4 seconds. This effect can occur no more than once every 60 seconds. So, once per minute, if your stamina drops below 30%, it'll recharge super fast for a few seconds, which is really dank. But now we are on to the final proper boss of this dungeon, and there is so much going on here. This was, honestly, very, very difficult. We did have a lot of wipes. However, we think we solved the puzzle. The biggest headache in here is a mechanic called sea orbs. Let's take a look at the map. At 12, 3, 6 and 9, there are orbs that will fall from the ceiling. We put the tank and the healer in these two positions, furthest back on these pads, so that they could see both diagonally from them at all times, and they would be responsible for shooting the orbs that fell down. The way these orbs work is they take about 10 seconds, they come from the ceiling and they hit the floor. If they hit the floor, you're dead. Immediately. It is an instant wipe for the whole group. You can't let a single orb touch the floor. They take 10 seconds to descend. If you wait till the last second and shoot them, they take 10 seconds to go back up, and then another 10 seconds to come back down, but they're constantly trying to fall. They just take that long to fall and go back up again. So in that 20-second period, if you wait till the last second that is, for the orb to go back up and come back down. That gives you a bit of breathing room where you can focus on the boss, but always be mindful of them, and always keep your eye on those two sides where the orbs are going to fall down on the tank and the healer's side. And what the healer does is, when he's got breathing room, he'll just run forward to heal everybody, and then immediately head back to his position so that he can keep an eye on the orbs. One ability you just saw, and he's doing it again now, this huge conal flame attack type thing. It'll be targeted on the tank as long as the tank is holding taunt, and it will follow the tank. So the tank always wants to be on the other side from the DPS. This fear mechanic that you're seeing now, it's an unbreakable fear, but if you face away from the boss, it will do nothing. So whenever the fear is going on you, you just need to turn, not just your camera, but your physical character. It's your physical character, we found, that needs to be turned away. So don't just turn your camera, turn your actual character away from the boss, and you won't be hurt by the fear. Periodically, the boss will split into 4, like, weaker versions of himself, which are constantly firing this awful hit at you. It can be interrupted, or it can be dodge rolled. Ideally, you can, what we ended up doing is we had the healer at 1, maintaining bash, we had me at another, bashing 1 and using crushing shock on my staff bar to shoot another, while the 2 DPS went around and killed them together. We found that this was the easiest way to get rid of them. Dodge rolling will eat up a lot of stamina, but bashing is also a valid option to stop them from doing that constant firing attack. Once they've all been defeated, the boss will recoalesce in the middle. Remember, the orbs is still happening, so you've got to keep your eye, well, the tank and the healer especially, on the orbs. Boss is back, and we are fighting him again. Here's the fear mechanic. Remember, make sure your character is not facing the boss. Now, let's talk about the Sundered Soul ability. The boss will target 2 people at random, and I never had it happen to me, so I don't know if it doesn't happen to the boss that's holding taunt, or if it is truly random, but 2 people will be targeted at random and have their souls removed. It'll be like a little golden ghost that'll run off. When he does this, the boss will start putting AoEs on the ground that sort of mimic the class of the players that he's removed the souls from. So what we found in this group composition, we've got a Dragon Knight tank, a Dragon Knight healer, one of the DPS is a Dragon Knight, and then 𝕃𝕀𝕂𝔼 obviously is a sorcerer. So when it was 𝕃𝕀𝕂𝔼 who was targeted, the boss would mirror a sorcerer-like ability, and he would put dozens of little electrical AoEs all over the floor, and they would go everywhere you moved, creating huge areas of denial. What happens when he does it to a Dragon Knight is it seemed to be some sort of pulsing damage that was kind of flame-based and didn't hurt too much. It was not too bad. From what I understand, if there is a Templar in your group and they get soul sundered, the ability he will use is like versions of Nova, which, you know, you don't want to be anywhere near because that's awful. And if it's a Warden, it'll be patches of like ice. Now at 50% health, this is where things get interesting. You will be warped into a sort of alternate room by yourself. We were all by ourselves, and you're constantly taking damage. To mitigate the damage, you need to run around and collect all those ghosts that are standing around, but at the same time there are all these little tiny ghosts swimming in through the window and then flying towards the center. Kill as many as you can. This big pool in the center, the boss is currently performing a ritual from which he will summon a big beefy hunky flesh abomination, and if too many ghosts get to that pool before the phase ends, when the Atronach comes out, he's going to be even burlier. So by making sure you kill as many ghosts as possible, you ensure that he will be weaker. It's not pleasant. A good thing to note, however, while you're fighting this flesh abomination, you will not have to deal with the orbs, so long as the main boss's health is not dropped to 40%. If it drops to 40%, the orbs are going to resume again. So you really need to just focus on the Atro only until it is dead. And remember, the fear is still happening, the big cone AoE is still happening, all the abilities are still going to be happening. As you can see right now, he's shooting fire because of the Sundered Soul thing. The Atro's got a big sort of ground thump attack and all the usuals. It's just that, you know, he hits for a lot, but it's not so bad for the tank. 𝕃𝕀𝕂𝔼 is grabbing her soul back because she was soul sundered, so that's good because it means he won't be doing the lightning thing anymore. Remember, ignore the boss for now, the tank's just going to lead it around. He's going to keep taunt on the Atro as well, but he's going to keep moving so that the Atro and the boss are never too close together. That way, when we're using AoE based attacks and dots, we're not accidentally hitting the boss too, because we are trying to avoid the boss reaching 40%. Because as soon as the boss gets back to 40%, the orbs are going to resume. We don't need to be juggling orbs as well as dealing with the Atronach. But it's not too bad, just keep focusing that Atro, keep avoiding all the other things that are going on. Because at least during this, you're not having to deal with those orbs. Again, you just saw the fear there. Make sure that you turn your character away from the boss. Because that fear, you cannot break free from it. You cannot dodge it. And it will make you run into AoEs and cause damage to you. Now with the Atro taken out, we're going to head back towards our original positions. And another thing about the orbs, even though, you know, we've made it the responsibility of the tank and the healer standing on opposite sides of the room, any chance a DPS gets to shoot one is helpful. So always just sort of keep your eyes out, because if you spot one and you can hit it before the tank or the healer when it's coming down, all the better. And we are now getting into the final push. There is no extra craziness during the execute phase, which is fortunate. The only big sort of issue was that Atronach phase, which, as you've seen, isn't too bad, so long as you just focus him down as quick as you can, and remember to look out for all the other mechanics. He's doing the big breath attack thing again there. Remember, never be on the same side as the tank, because it will kill you. But yeah, so it's a lot. There's a lot going on, especially with watching the orbs, but as long as you keep on top of that stuff, you aren't going to have a problem. You know, the boss is doing Siphon Soul again. Remember when he does this, Siphon someone's soul, this is where he starts mimicking abilities. You can see he did it to 𝕃𝕀𝕂𝔼 because she's a sorcerer, and here are all these little lightning things. Looks like he's split into his 4 phase again. So we're going to go around and do the same thing. We're going to have the tank standard 1 and bash, and use Crushing Shock to interrupt another, while the DPS go around, interrupt when they can, dodge roll when they can't, and kill them one at a time. And because the healer is having to do this as well, it's useful for the DPS to keep an eye out for orbs that may start falling, just to be of assistance. But once we've got all 4 of these minis out of the way, it'll just be us and the boss once again. Siphon Soul happening again. Looks like it happened to Cat again, so more little lightning pools. And again, what ability the boss uses when he siphons a soul is dependent on the class, but all of them are awful. Apart from the Dragonite one isn't so bad. Main boss is back, but it looks like Cat is going to help with orbs for a second, because Proto had his soul pulled out, so he's got to chase the little golden man. Remember, if your soul is plucked out, chase down the golden man as quick as you can. If you don't catch him, you will die. But dying is about what's about to happen to this boss, I think. We're very nearly there. Don't think you wanted to stand in that. You must have been reading chat, 𝕃𝕀𝕂𝔼, once again. Now, this is actually useful. When somebody dies during this fight, you'll see a little tombstone appears on them, and there are endless, constant skeletons coming out, which immediately run at the group. They're not too bad to kill, but they don't stop coming, which makes it very important that you res your fallen teammate. So as soon as Proto has some breathing room from the orb bouncing thing, I think he's going to come and do a res. Here we go, and he's got the nice fast res CP on. So Cat is back up, no more skeletons spawning from her grave. We'll just have to take those out. Cat is helping with the orbs. And we'll get back on the boss for the big finish. A couple of skeletons left to wipe out, but we are very close. There we go. Loot your lockpicks and your very dank monster mask that you get. I can't remember what it does. You'll just have to have a look. And now we're getting all the fancy prizes, because this was our very first time here. We got the trophy. We got the bust. That's going to look very dank on a shelf in our houses. And now let's go turn the quest in too. Lots of achievements popping, because we did do this on hard mode. The Vanquisher, that's the achievement you get for finishing it on normal. Lost Depths Scout, must be for going in both dungeons from the DLC. Graven Deep Conqueror for finishing it on Veteran. Lost Steps Delver. Not entirely sure what that is. Maybe it's for doing both of them on Vet. Turn in our quest, and there we go. Breathless, the achievement for finishing it on hard mode. Very, very dank. So there we go. Quest complete too. It really was our very first time in here, but we managed to pull it off. We figured it out, we solved the puzzle, and we got all the dank prizes. Oh, and a skill point. That'll be useful. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Remember to subscribe if you like what you see by pressing the subscribe button and hitting the little bell to be notified of new videos. We'll also throw up a couple of other videos you could watch if you'd like, and don't forget to go over to Twitter and give a follow, or an Instagram if you like looking at pictures and memes and stuff, and you know, YouTube, which here you are, so hi. And don't forget to check out the stream at twitch.tv/𝕊𝕌𝔹𝕊ℂℝ𝕀𝕹𝔼. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Monsters Only.